In today's video, we dive into a high-stakes complicated case involving Turngu Ajera, known as Mover, and his co-defendants. The events leading to a fatal stabbing in Hendon, London during an attempted robbery reveal not only a crime, but a twisted tale of racial tension, a failed burglary, and complex legal battles. We're going to break down the details, dissect the investigation, and examine the trial that captivated many. This case holds lessons about justice, race, and the intricacies of the law. From East London's heart, Mover is one of the original architects of UK rap. His journey is deeply intertwined with the rise of his close friend and collaborator, Potter Payper. Together, they've contributed to the evolution of the UK rap sound, building something that stands the test of time.
If we let's gangbang, you can ask any nigga around, man, daily. If I won't slide off my bed for my 18. From
dominating the scene with tracks like Ringtone to being handed a 30+ years prison sentence, where did it all go wrong for Mover? It all began on the night of July 2nd, 2014. Mover, along with Stephen Lansanya and several others, set their sights on a flat at 5A GLE Crescent, Hendon. The flat was rumored to contain a large sum of cash, and they believed they could get away with a quick, easy robbery. Their plan was simple: break in, steal the money, and leave without being caught. They gained access to the property with the help of a locksmith, but things didn't go according to plan. They were expecting cash, but they found no money, only a television and some other items. Though their hopes for a huge payday were dashed, they weren't ready to give up yet. They made off with what they could, and despite the failure, they decided to return the next day to see if they could find the money that had eluded them. On July 3rd, 2014, they returned to the flat in VW Passat, likely thinking that if they couldn't find the money the first time, maybe they could try again. This time, however, their frustration had begun to take over, clouding their judgment. Once again, they came up empty-handed. Anger and desperation led them to drive around Hendon, where they encountered two Lithuanian men, Zunis Lenos and his father. The group ambushed the pair, and in the ensuing chaos, Zunis was fatally stabbed. The assailants took Zunis's watch and bag and left him bleeding out with a fatal stab wound. The weapon used in the attack was a large hunting-style Rambo knife, an object that would later become key to the investigation. Forensic evidence would soon play a crucial role in connecting the attackers to the crime, shedding light on a dark and brutal incident. The weapon recovered from the crime scene would become one of the most important pieces of evidence. Forensic scientists confirmed the blood found on the knife matches Zunis's DNA. This piece of evidence was pivotal. The fact that the chances of it being anyone else's DNA were 1 in a billion cemented its connection to the victim. Additionally, the analysis of the knife's handle revealed traces of DNA from both Zunis and others, including Mover. This was an undeniable link, one that would prove to be a game changer for the investigation. After the brutal murder, Mover and Lasana were arrested. During their interviews with the police, both denied involvement in the stabbing. Mover claimed he had been with a friend, Paul Makoko, at the time of the attack. Lasana, on the other hand, remained largely silent, only providing his name and address, saying little else. But as the case unfolded, their stories began to unravel, revealing inconsistencies that the prosecution would latch onto. Lasana eventually admitted his role in the burglary, but continued to deny any involvement in the robbery or the fatal stabbing. But the prosecution had more than enough evidence to challenge this version of events. Mover's defense, however, took a more unexpected turn. He claimed that Zunis had been the aggressor in the situation. According to Mover, Zunis and his father had made racist comments towards his co-defendant, Gers. A confrontation broke out between the men, and according to Mover, Zunis pulled a knife. Mover claimed that, in the heat of the moment, the knife fell to the ground and he picked it up in self-defense and used it to stab Zunis. Mover's account was a far cry from the prosecution's narrative, but there were gaps in his defense that would raise doubts in the jury's minds. Despite Mover's claims of self-defense, he admitted to wiping down the knife and discarding it in a nearby lane, an action that seemed to suggest an attempt to destroy evidence. That small, seemingly insignificant detail would play a big role in the trial. The prosecution argued that this act contradicted Mover's self-defense story and painted a picture of a man more concerned with covering his tracks than protecting himself from an attack. Both Mover and Lasana also tried to argue that Zunis' criminal history, including his convictions for violent offenses in Lithuania, made him the real threat. not them. This defense of self-defense was central to their argument, but it didn't hold up in court. Witnesses provided conflicting accounts, and the jury was left to decide whether the attack was premeditated or a response to some alleged provocation. But it wasn't just their actions in question. The case took an unexpected turn when a scandal involving one of the jurors came to light. Just when you thought this case could get even more dramatic, a juror, referred to as PB, was involved in a racial confrontation at a bar. Apparently, he had an altercation with a black man, which raised questions about potential bias. This introduced a whole new layer to the case. Could the jury have been influenced by personal biases? The judge decided to dismiss PB from the jury and question the remaining jurors, but they decided to continue with the trial. It was another unexpected curveball in an already dramatic case. In the end, the jury found Ajera and Lasagna guilty of murder. However, the case did not end with the verdict. Both Ajera and Lasagna appealed their convictions, citing potential biases in the jury selection and the handling of DNA evidence. The defense argued that the DNA evidence related to the murder weapon had been improperly handled. The defendants also raised issues surrounding the charge of joint enterprise. Ultimately, the court rejected their appeals. The judge upheld the original verdict, concluding that there had been no substantial injustice in the trial. The appeal for a reduced sentence was also denied, and the original sentences were maintained. In conclusion, the case of Ternagu Ajera, aka Mover, served as a more than just a legal matter. It's a tragic intersection of fate, ambition, and consequence. Mover, once on the brink of a legendary career in UK rap, now faces decades behind bars for a crime that tragically resulted in Zunis Lidnoz's death. It's easy to see how the failed burglary that led to that death was more than just a random act. It was the combination of a series of choices, both conscious and unconscious, that set the events in motion. The trial revealed not only the fatal consequence of their actions, but also how the pursuit of crime, no matter how carefully planned, can all collapse in a moment of violence. The shocking twist in the case, the change in defenses, the juror scandal, and the crucial forensic evidence serve as a stark reminder of how fragile the line between justice and chaos truly is. Mover's conviction stands as a grim warning. No matter how far you rise, a single poor choice can undo everything. The impact of this case will linger for years, a cautionary tale for anyone who believes fame, talent, or reputation can protect them from the law.